Hi everyone, welcome all to the channel of Marlos Sports. I know that it sounds weird hearing me talking in English. I know that you are used to listen to me in Spanish. That's usually how I always talk. But I have a really important guest today. We were trying to have this meeting from almost like a month, I think, more than a half. A lot of issues, mostly because of the time and the hours. Because in Norway, there is a really big time difference between Norway and Bogota, almost like 8 hour, 10 hour difference. So it would make that difficult at the beginning, but here we are. We hope to do this again in the future, specifically with Barcelona. But for now, we have here Ivar from BadBarcaOpinions. How are you, my man?
Very good. Nice to be here. And it's good that we finally got the chance to do this.
As many of you already saw on the thumbnail and also on the title of the video, we are going to talk about the Euros that ended this weekend with Spain crowned as the European champions. Not gonna lie, it was kind of surprising to me see them to go this far because I don't think like most of the people had Spain that high. Mostly because they didn't have like that big names. Maybe you go to Portugal, you go to England, you go to France. You used to see like more names. Maybe in Spain you see like names that are usually playing on local teams like Real Sociedad, Athletic Bilbao, some cases with Barcelona, Madrid, or Atletico Madrid. But you were not used to see some of those Spain players. But this topic for today will be a top five. We're gonna talk about the top five most surprising players that we saw on the Euros. We're gonna discuss a little bit about which players we were not expecting maybe that much, or maybe we were not expecting them to have like a really good level at this tournament. And at the end, we will discuss also a top five of the most disappointing players, maybe because of the names or maybe because we had such big expectations from them and they were extremely disappointing. So Ivar, I'm going to start with you. First of all, we're going to go with the top five of players who surprised you the most. Who is the first one on your list?
The first one on my list is actually a midfielder who plays for the winning team. We like everyone knows about him, but like I feel like he truly stood out. They got to show his quality in Spain system, and that was kind of surprising for me. So I'll start by saying Fabian Ruiz scored 2 goals, 2 assists, and he played kind of like at the base of the midfield, uh, most of the time next to Rodri. And I guess kind of like their combined physicality and how they work together functioned extremely well for Spain. He had a little bit more freedom than Rodri, who was more positionally disciplined. But again, I feel like uh, he was one of those players that I had some expectations to, but I never expected him to perform at such a level. He was one of the best players of the tournament. I think he deserves to be in team of the tournament as well. So I think Fabian Ruiz is my first pick here.
Yeah, I don't have him on my list, but I'm not gonna lie. For me, it was kind of random to see him on
Mm.
the main 11 with Rodri because I was expecting, I don't know, maybe Mikel Merino or maybe Pedri and have Dani Olmo as a MCO. That's something that I was expecting as a camp. And when I saw Fabian, it was kind of like hard for me at the beginning. I was like, why is he playing? But from the first game against Croatia, he had a really good game and he never lowered the Devils. So I agree with you on that one. Who is the second one on your list?
It's the player that performed exceptionally well for Barca last season, but kind of like when you look at the context, his role in the team, I was a little bit surprised by some of his contributions, and that is Kunde. Like defensively, he's always been like rock solid. But what surprised me the most is mainly how he was playing in attack. Because you got kind of like in France, you got Mbappe, Dembele, Griezmann, and so on, the big stars. But Koundé also showed his capabilities of going forward. Created, I think only Dembele created more chances than he did, and that was one of the things that surprised me the most about him. That in such a strong collective as France, Kundesh kind of like stood out in terms of chance creations, moved forward. You can see that he's kind of worked really hard on his crosses, stayed late in training, and that's given results. So I'm actually choosing him, but kind of like not in terms of his overall performances, because you always expect him to kind of like be reliable, and he was that. But he surprised me in terms of his contributions going forward. So that's why I'm choosing him. I feel like France disappointed me a lot, but Koundé, he was kind of like the bright light there. So
Yeah, I was kind of worried about France at some point because I
mm,
mean Mbappe had a really bad tournament. Dembele had some flashes, but he didn't do that much either. When I
mm,
saw that basically Kunde was one of the main threats, I was like, not sure what to expect because even though, as you're right, Kunde has worked a lot on his crosses and moving forward, he's a defensive minded player. I mean, he's actually a center back that is playing
yeah,
as a right back, and he has done really good. I mean, I'm not gonna say that he surprised me a lot because we were saying some about something of this on Barcelona already on the last like few months,
yeah,
but yeah, I agree with you that even though France had a really big disappointing Euros, he was like one of their most white players actually, and that's kind of surprising if you see like the big names that France has in their squad.
yeah. I feel like I haven't seen him at this level for Barca when it comes to kind of like attacking. He's always been a bit more like kind of like pragmatic, staying back, providing balance. But he showed that kind of like as a right back, he can actually overlap, go forward, create chances. That's something that I think it's going to benefit Barca, but it also shows his potential and how hard he works. And I didn't expect him to kind of like stand out in that aspect for France with all those big names. So that's why I chose him.
No, I agree with you on that one. We're missing. We have three players left on your end. Who is your third player on the list?
Uh, the third, I don't actually know how to pronounce his name properly, but he plays for Turkey. Kadioglu, the left back.
Yeah, I know.
Uh, Kind of like if I look at his profile, I can kind of like say he would be able to function in many different roles, but he plays mostly like as a left back, uh, very attack minded, great drive on the ball, exceptional dribbling, kind of like has that energy, just drives his team forward, good in tight areas, very difficult to dispossess them. So he like Turkey as a team impressed me a lot with their energy, their pace going forward, and I think that he was one of those players that I didn't know much about, but I remember now after watching the tournament, and it wouldn't surprise me if he made a bigger move in the summer now. It probably has you probably have to pay a fair price, but yeah, I'm choosing him as my third option.
Yeah, I mean, he was. I'm not sure if anyone was expecting a lot from Turkey, actually. Mostly because of the name. I mean, when you have France, Spain, Netherlands, England, I think that you're never thinking of Turkey as one of the main countries on the tournament to have a really good tournament, a really good level. And yeah, I agree with you. He was a really good fullback. I was actually watching him a lot because I felt that maybe because he was going forward a lot, he will be like a defensive liability, and he was not. I'm
No.
not gonna say that he was extremely solid because, of course, if you go forward a lot, it's kind of normal that you leave some spaces behind. But usually he was pretty good. He was one of the main reasons why Turkey was really, really dangerous throughout the whole tournament. And who is the second one, Ivar?
It's another player from Spain. I felt kind of like had his breakthrough, like proper breakthrough. And he was not supposed to be a starter, but he became a starter due to kind of like the injury on Pedri. But whenever he came on, he always kind of like you could tell that it was a great fit for the team. So actually, Dani Olmo, I thought he was one of the best players of the tournament as well. One of the best players for Spain. Uh, he had kind of like had these like technical qualities that very few players have, and a great imagination. So like a lot of stuff that he imagines in his head, he's actually able to perform it. Like the goal he scored against France, when he just dribbled Chouamani in the air, kind of like two touches. He has that X factor, uh, finds pockets of space really well, works hard for the team, and he's always been one of those like good players, but kind of not the best. But if I guess most clubs will have their eye on him this summer after the tournament he has had. So I feel like he surprised me a lot in a good way.
Yeah, I feel that actually now that we talk a little bit about Barca, he will be one of the best options
Mm.
on my mind for that camp position
Yeah,
because I mean he has a lot of creativity. He's really explosive. He has a really goal scoring threat because he's not only about the passes and the dribbles. He has a really good shot from distance. He can also find spaces within the area. And you're right. Every time that he came on as a substitute at the beginning of the tournament, and then as on the main 11 due to Pedri's injury, I saw, at least on my end, I felt two different Spains because maybe Pedri played with more pausa. You have to
yeah.
remain that Pedri is not a cam actually. He usually plays a little bit on the back but with Olmo there was a really big change of rhythm and it was really great to see him. And who is the last one on your list?
The Georgia goalkeeper, Mamardashvili. Uh, we don't know about him, but at least the first 2 3 games he had were phenomenal. The saves he made, the kind of times he came to his team's rescue. Not much more to say there, but yeah, extraordinary goalkeeper.
Yeah, I mean, I feel that like we know him, as you're right. We know that he plays in Valencia. We heard at some points some rumors about him being transferred to a big club. We kind
Mm,
of heard that before. But I mean, it was the first time that we were able to see him in a big tournament because with Valencia, we were only be able to see him play in La Liga. And yeah, he was extremely great. I think that he ended with as the keeper with the most saves at the
yeah,
Euros. Not sure if someone surprised him later. But I mean, uh, every time that you saw Georgia, he was doing like 4 or 5 really big saves. So I'm gonna start then with my top of 5 players who surprised me the most. First of all, also from Georgia, it's gonna sound a little weird, but not sure if I'm gonna pronounce it right. But at Scalia, I was kind of disappointed by his last season because he had a really good season with Napoli when he won
mm,
Serie A. He was a really good winger with a lot of good dribbling. He could use both feet, a really goal scoring threat. But last season, he fell a lot. I mean, his level was not the same. Not sure if it's more about Napoli's tactical setup because they have like 3 4 coaches and they were all defensive mind coaches. So this was not helping Baratskelia a lot. But I'm not gonna lie, was really disappointed with him, and to see him at the Euros as the main man from this team, and not like backing down about that role, and always like giving a really good performance. I mean, against Spain, at some point I thought that maybe Georgia will actually win the game because he was having a really good plays. He was always like making disasters on Carvajal's backline, and that's really hard because Carvajal is really solid. I will say that he surprised me a lot. Not sure what you think about Kvaratskhelia on this
yeah,
tournament.
yeah, I actually agree. We all know he has qualities, but Georgia, they kind of gave him the freedom he needed to express himself. So we kind of saw that, especially against Portugal, the way he dropped Steve to receive passes. It was influential in more areas than just one. So I feel compared to, as you said, a little bit disappointing last season, uh, he truly kind of stepped up for his national team now. I agree.
Yeah, the second one on my list is from Spain. It's Nico Williams. Didn't have him that much on my radar. I knew that he was really good, and I heard all of the Barca rumors. I was able to saw some Athletic Bilbao games, and you could see like he was really dangerous. He could go like either ways on the left or on the right. He was always doing something. Maybe he's still not a really main goal threat because he has to improve a little bit on his finishing and his positioning on some times, but he has a lot of creativity, and it's more about of the age because as with Lamine Yamal at some point, with Nico, it's the first time that we are seeing him in a big tournament, and he was already on a starting role with Spain. And yeah, you can expect at some points that he could like fail a little bit only for the pressure or while he gets used to be playing for Spain or for a big nation in this type of tournaments. And he did not back down. I mean, I think that he did really good. I think he improved a lot from the last season. And if Barcelona can get him, it will be a really dangerous duo with him and Lamine Yamal. No matter what, whoever is up front, if it's Lewandowski or Vitor Roque, not sure who will be on the future, but that will be a really good duo.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I had him on my list, but I feel like I have written so many posts on him, seen so many games, so I kind of like expected him to be at a very high level, and now he obviously kind of like exceeded expectations slightly. But that's also mainly why I didn't have him on my list because I've watched him so many times and I've written so many posts and so on about him that I had high expectation for him, although he exceeded those as well. So
Yeah, the third one on my list, it's Cody Gakpo from Netherlands. I mean, and as you were a really Barca fan, I'm a really big Liverpool fan, and I was disappointed from Cody Gakpo's last season. I think that maybe Klopp was not able to use him in a really good position because he's a left winger,
mm,
but Luis Diaz was playing as the main winger on that tactic, on that formation, and Gakpo at some point he was playing as a center forward, or Klopp tried to put him on the middle of the field with McAllister at some point. And I feel like that's the reason why Gakpo was never really at a good level. But even though when I saw him on the left wing, he was not surprising me a lot. But with Netherlands, it seems like he's a different player. He's more decisive. He scores a lot of goals. He can get through and shot from distance, get to the area and receive some crosses. I mean, it surprised me a lot. I was expecting maybe more from Memphis Depay, that for me was kind of disappointing. Xavi Simons at the end took a huge step also, but I would say Gakpo because he was having a really bad season at Liverpool, but he stepped up a lot. And actually, I think he almost finishes, or I'm not sure if he finished at the end as one of the goal scorers of the Euros with 3 goals.
yeah, he is one of the top scorers, I believe. Uh, it's it's as you said, it's probably mostly down to the role he's given and kind of like how Netherlands use him compared to Liverpool. So compared to his time at Liverpool, it was phenomenal. So
Yeah, the second one, because I'm going from the last one to the top one. I will say Arda Guler, and I mean I always forget about Arda because he didn't play that much with Real Madrid due to the injuries, and he's also really young. He's 19, I think, and it was kind of surprising, mostly because I forgot about him, seeing him on the starting 11 from Turkey. But from the first game where he scored that screamer from outside of the area, and you see that every time that he has the ball, he has a really good tempo. He's calm. He's always looking for a good pass or for a good solution. He doesn't rush the play or doesn't overdo a lot of tricks a lot. So I felt like he surprised me a lot. Not sure how Real Madrid will fit him because they have a really good attacking three with Rodrigo, Mbappe, Vini, and they have a lot one of midfields that are really great. But for me, Arda Guler, it was impressive to me see him to step up that much with Turkey. Not sure if not gonna say that he was the main man from Turkey, but for his age, he was really good for me.
I guess he is the player that they expect the most from, given his transfer to Real Madrid and so on. So amazing talent, great player. So it's going to be exciting to see how they decide to use him. Probably going to be tons of rotations given the amount of games they're set to play. So, but yeah, I get that choice from you.
Yep, and the top one, and I was kind of hoping for you to say it at some point, Cucurella. I was not expecting anything from him actually because his last 2 seasons with Chelsea for me were a flop. I mean, Chelsea paid a lot of money from him. And yeah, I agree that Chelsea it's a really hard team to play at the moment because they are extremely disorganized. They are always doing like 11, 12 random purchases every time, every signing. It's you don't know why he's getting signed. Cucurella for me was not that good at Chelsea. He had some things as a defensive minded fullback, but not, I don't know. For me, he was not that good. I was expecting for Grimaldo to be as the starting left back from Spain because he really had a really good season with Leverkusen. I understood why Cucurella was playing. It was more about balance because Carvajal was the fullback that was going forward the most. But also when Cucurella had to go forward, he was really dangerous. He gave, I think, a couple of assists. I was not expecting this level from him. Not sure if he will be for now on the main starter at Chelsea, or if he will go to another team. But for me, he was like the most surprising player for me.
Yeah, that's fully understandable. Again, it comes down to the way they kind of like chose to use him, with kind of like Nico Williams, who's a strong dribbler, can take on players by himself, and that allows kind of like Cucurella to stay back a bit more, kind of provide balance, help win the ball back, yeah, recover it in good positions and so on. They use this energy in a good way. So I know many expected Grimaldo to be the one starting, but he is far more kind of like attack minded, needs more protection, while Cucurella is the type of player who gives that protection. So he great fit in a good system.